Zoom recording. Okay, I'm there. I'm there. You guys just got to be patient with me because I just take a while. Okay, come on. It's not making it. There we go. All right, so let's get started. So I don't know if you guys have gone out there and checked on what are the top causes of death in the United States. I actually grabbed U.S. statistics chart. On the next slide, you'll see it. It's showing again, year after year after year after year, the second leading cause of death in the United States is cancer. The first cause, which you're going to see on the next slide, is cardiovascular disease. And so that's why I find it so important to talk about using Young Living and Young Living's products for our health and our lifestyle, because we can address all of these major issues. And I don't know why we don't sometimes take this more seriously. And I'm not talking about my leaders that are on the call. I'm talking about those people who are dabbling right now. Dabbling is just not the place to be when we are in a country of health crisis right now. And we definitely are in a health crisis, aren't we? And I addressed that quite a bit last week, but I'm going to interweave that into this week, because you're going to find that there are many believers that feel that cancer is a virus type of structure in the body. We're going to talk about the most common is lung cancer, and then that's followed by breast cancer. And that doesn't necessarily mean cancer caused by smokers. Lung cancer can be caused by asbestos inhalation. It can be caused by working, in painting, like automobile painting. There's just a lot of things that can contribute to lung cancer. And then we got to mute again. Okay. Then breast cancer, and then prostate cancer in men. And the risk of developing cancer during a lifetime is, for men, it's 1 out of every 2. And for women, it's 1 out of every 3. That's why it is the leading cause of death in the United States. Those are huge numbers. And so we need to be vigilantly proactive in keeping our body above the wellness line. I like to say that. Supporting it in every possible way that we can, not just specifically targeting, cholesterol or high blood pressure. If you look at your overall body as a wholeness and treat it accordingly, then just ultimate nutrition and ultimate support with essential oils and oil enhanced products, then your risk of coming up with anything, cancer, heart disease, save accidents, is going to be a lot less. Your risk is just going to go down. There's approximately 1,500 cancer deaths each day in the United States. And I'm not saying this to scare you or to, make you afraid in any way, because I was just quoting the scripture that says that God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of a sound mind. And so if you believe that you are in his palm, he is the great healer. He just uses these oils as a modality for healing. It is a way. It isn't the only way, but Gary was really in tune to what he called his father and higher power, universal energy, whatever you want to call it. And I believe that he gave him many of the products that we have today through prayer and meditation and just taking time with him on the mountaintop. In the United States, direct medical treatment, loss of productivity, and early mortality from cancer costs about $143 billion a year. And again, this is an older slide. I'm sure that those facts have changed, but the risks have not. So genetic risk factors versus controllable risk factors. Here are the top leading causes of death in the US. And I just pulled this. I tried to get a 2019, but the 2017 was the most recent. So I guess what they do is it takes them, you know, a year or two for them to get all of the data so that they can give you a graph like this. So this was total deaths in 2017, and you can see diseases of the heart or cardiovascular disease is number one. Cancer is number two with 600,000 it's deaths in 2017. I guess this is what it means. Accidents and injuries. Then we have chronic lower respiratory diseases. The viruses, the flus, the pneumonias can fall into that. Although I saw pneumonitis due to solids and liquids down here on the bottom. Now we know that there's something called chemical toxicity or chemical pneumonia that can happen from breathing in bleach, which is not a product that you should be using during this time of being safe in your home. It really causes a lot of problems with the mucosal lining in the lungs, and you don't want to use ammonia. That can cause a problem, and if you mix the two of them, you can actually get an explosion, or you can get fumes that at a minimum are going to cause chemical pneumonia. You'll see some other things here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Cerebral vascular diseases. That would be, you know, brain hemorrhaging and that kind of thing. Alzheimer's and diabetes is one of the highest. Almost 100,000 a year die just of diabetes. And then we have influenza and pneumonia. And the last figure that I saw was that there have been, from the coronavirus, there have been 33,000 deaths. Now, again, I don't know how accurate some of this stuff is. There's so much information out on the news right now. It's just really hard to determine what's really going on. All I know is that we are healthy and we are safe. And I feel like the children of Israel, you know, when the death angel passed. And I've heard that. And thank you so much, Kathleen Gardner, for reminding me again today about that story. We've been thinking about that a lot. It's really been on our minds about how the children of Israel were asked by God to go into their house and close the door, and of course use the blood of the lamb to protect them. And we have that kind of protection today. And I think we just need to believe that, you know, just believe that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what is cancer. The very word sometimes strikes fear in most of us. No other illness so profoundly affects the body or on so many different levels. Cancer, or the group of diseases that we generally refer to as cancer, is the second highest cause of mortality in the United States. And conventional allopathic forms of treatment are usually surgery and radiation and chemotherapy, all of which attempt to treat the disease or kill the cancer cell, but they're not treating the person. So there's a lot of isolation and loneliness in a typical hospital where people have had to have radiation or surgeries, and it gets old. A cancer patient may often feel as if they're not human, and aromatherapy can really help return the humanity to on the treatment of cancer, the ongoing treatment of cancer, by addressing holistic aspects of healing, assisted conventional treatments by addressing the emotional and spiritual aspects of the illness as well. We need to keep in mind that it is not only a physical disease, but it can also creep into the emotional part of our being. Essential oils are also useful in providing effective and natural and inexpensive methods of managing the physical side effects of the malignant disease and treatment, including nausea and edema and radiation burns. And I'm going to be talking a little bit more about that. Lingering wounds and incisions from cuts that may have had to have been administered. And in the case of palliative care or the care of the elderly, aromatics have a long history of being associated with the soul's transition into the beyond. Aromatherapy, when appropriately used, can provide tremendous comfort and support to the cancer patient on all levels. So arguably, the most important single factor of cancer is DNA repair. I need to get rid of that. And I need to make this smaller. If functioning properly, these systems can compensate for mutations. So the source of mutation intracellularly is DNA copy errors. So we have a mutated cell. We call certain chemicals, and I bring them up all the time, mutagenics. These are chemicals that we use in our daily life that actually cause mutated cells in the body. So when those cells divide, they're going to divide with that mutation, those errors. Free radicals also contribute highly to cells that are not healthy. They're mutated. And so I talk about ORAC ratings and antioxidants a lot in my classes. If you want to find some of my classes out there to listen to, you can go out to my YouTube channel. It's Christina Rose Campbell, I believe. And I'm starting to post them out there. And I really, at this point, I really don't care if I'm saying things that are non-compliant, because I feel that it's very important that this information get out there. So if I get called on it, of course, I'll take it all down. But in the interim, it's up there. And I really highly recommend that you watch the one I did on thieves and the one I did on babies and children, because I talk a lot about xenoestrogens and how these cause DNA mutations. And so I want you to get in on some of those classes if you've missed them in the past. As far as extracellular sources of mutation, chemicals, which I'm talking about right now, our environment. And, you know, Gary has always said the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the food that we eat. Because our food is not good foodstuffs anymore. If we're eating processed packaged foods, we're getting a lot of chemicals. If we're eating fruits or vegetables that have been sprayed with herbicides and pesticides, that's another source of chemicals. And radiation can come from so many things. And I really feel that, and this is just a personal opinion, you can take it or leave it, 5G is going to give us a lot more cellular mutation than we ever imagined. And cell toxicity causes cancer, which is damaged DNA that is propagated to new cells. So what our goal is number one, stop the propagation of mutated cells. That's what we need to do. Stop that mutation. Number two is we need to create a healthy immune system so that our body has the ability to combat on its own these mutated cells. Our body has the ability to heal itself. That's how God made us. And we want to do everything in our power to feed the temple that we own, our body, everything that we can to stop the propagation of cancer cells. We know that everybody has cancer cells in their body. Everybody has mutated cells in their body. But depending upon your immune system is whether or not you're going to be able to combat it. You're going to be able to fight it. And when I went through the immune system the other week, a couple of weeks ago now, I guess, 3 weeks ago, I talked specifically about how the immune system attacks a virus. You have to have those macrophages. You have to have those T cells, those killer cells. You have to have all of these things. And most of those cells, the lymphocytes and leukocytes, they're all made in the bone marrow. So what do we do to increase the production of white blood cells, our immunity in the bone marrow? And what do we do to increase our immunity from a gut perspective? And if you listen to my class on digestion, you're going to get that information as well. It's so important to be taking Life 9 every night. And if you have an issue, then you should be taking at least a minimum of 3 Life 9 every night. Kenneth takes 3 Life 9 every night. I take 2 Life 9 every night. One recommended Life 9 is for the person who is totally healthy. And so if you don't fall into that category, then I recommend that you bump it up. Now, what causes an increase in white blood cells? They've done research and it's proven that lemon oil increases the leukocyte and lymphocyte production in the bone marrow. But I will say that lemon oil also, if you're on a blood thinner, is going to change the viscosity of your blood. It's going to cause it not to be sticky, as does Ningxia Red. It makes those red blood cells free-flowing, and it helps those white blood cells to, eat up the bad guys, Okay, so let's look at some of the problems in diagnosing cancer. First of all, sometimes there's so many mutations that sometimes it's difficult to characterize. And depending on how your body is reacting, it may be a long time before you even realize that you have cancer. So time before diagnosis is some of the problems in diagnosing cancer. Problems in treating cancer is that there are so many genetic variations between patients, and now they're doing a lot more DNA testing to get more targeted on genetic variations. So I think we've come a long way since this was written in that arena. Microenvironments, cancer cell types. Chemotherapy targets rapidly proliferating cells, like in the GI tract, hair cells, the bone marrow. Cancer may not be rapidly proliferating. Radiation may only kill some cells and further mutate others. And that's the problem with both chemotherapy and radiation, is that you not only are targeting the cancer cells, but you're targeting healthy cells as well. And this is a scary method. Chemotherapy in and of itself targets specifically the immune system. So it's going to affect the bone marrow where white blood cells are created. So that's why we have to be vigilant now, so that we can build up our white blood cells, that we can deploy them to the thymus where they mature, and where they're deployed from there when bacteria, viruses, and mutated cells present their ugly faces. Those other things too, like chemotherapy and radiation, have a lot of side effects, and again, they compromise the immune system. So there are newer ways of treating cancer, and one of them is actually a very old way. Many plants have a long medical history. Hyssop, for example. And, we were talking about the death angel and the children of Israel and how they were locked down in their homes. It was a hyssop branch that God directed them to use to dip in the basin of the blood of the sacrificed lamb. And they were to strike the doorposts of their dwelling. And this is how I see that. When you strike a hyssop branch, it emits the aromatic molecules that are antiviral. Hyssop is highly antiviral. So when Kenneth gives you his recipe on nose swipe, he says if you can't get Egyptian gold right now, which it's out of stock, and if you don't have any in your own stash stock, then get hyssop in Exodus 2, and put those in animal scents and use those oils to swipe and the animal sense to swipe the inside of your nose, because this will protect anything coming in your nose. You're going to kill it. Spikenard is difficult to get a hold of now, but myrrh and frankincense are mentioned in the Bible, and they have a long medicinal history. Even tribal and cultural uses, there's a history of those types of uses. Less than 1% of higher plants have been exhaustively studied for medicinal value. And of course, that's something that Gary would have told you right off the cuff, because he was finding plants that hadn't even been botanically cataloged when he was in Ecuador. And so we had eucalyptus blue, and we found a different type of oregano down there. And he was always looking for new plant species. And I know at convention this year, we're going to have a new oil that he was studying, I believe, before he passed, and it's called Tea of Peace. And it has highly antiviral properties, very, very similar to Melissa. However, Melissa only gives up a quarter cup of oil for 2.5 tons of plant material, whereas Tea of Peace gives up much, much more oil, so it's going to be a lot less expensive. We like a lot less expensive, don't we? There is a high probability that new drugs remain to be found, and a lot of the drugs are found from plant extractions. The problem with isolating different constituents and components of essential oils or plants is that because it's not in its wholeness like the essential oil is, then you're going to have to contend with side effects. So there has been good success with many anti-cancer drugs currently on the market, and these are 3 of the ones that they have developed from plants. But again, you're going to have side effects every time if you don't keep the wholeness of that plant. So let's talk a little bit about essential oils, specific and variable combination of plant chemicals. We're going to talk about how protective they can be to help us to cope with environmental stress, how destructive oils can be in killing or inhibiting growth of invaders. And that's what I was talking about, whether it be a bacteria, whether it be a virus, whether it be a mutated cell. Essential oils in that context can be extremely destructive, and this is a good thing. The good news is that essential oils and cancer won't affect healthy tissue. So it's not going to kill healthy tissue like radiation or chemotherapy would. And it's stimulatory, which means that it promotes cell growth. So it promotes the growth of healthy cells. And you only want to get the very best, which I believe is Young Living. I've been with the company for 21 years. And the majority of our essential oils, the plants, are extracted by steam distillation. And they contain many physiologically active chemicals constituents like terpenoids, phenols, and coumarins. If you want to know more about the chemical attributes of essential oils, I highly recommend Dr. David Stewart's book, The Chemistry of Essential Oils Made Simple. It's a big book. It's about $50. It's big. But the thing that I love the most about Dr. Stewart's approach is, number one, he speaks to the layperson. So even though it is a book on the chemistry of essential oils, he talks it in a way that's very, very understandable. And it can help you to determine what oils you might need. Although, that's one of the things that we do. We teach you, this oil is that, and that oil has these properties. But if you really want to dig deeper, that is a book that I highly, highly recommend. And I think you can get it at discoverlsp.com. It's by Dr. David Stewart, and that's Stewart. And he has a PhD in chemistry. So he did a really good job on that book. The secret with essential oils is the synergy. And this is because they're keeping together that wholeness, like I was talking about earlier. I'm going to look at what my chat says. Chemistry of Essential Oils Made Simple by Dr. David Stewart. That's correct. Yes, that's correct. Thank you, everybody, for sharing that. So it's the synergy. So what Nicole did was she screened 74 essential oils, 69 single oils, and 5 blends. And she used them against cancer cells of cervical cancer, breast cancer, skin cancer, and prostate cancer cell lines. She used non-cancerous 3T3 mouse fibroblast cells. This is how they do research in the laboratory. This may or may not be of interest to you, but she felt it was very important to tell you exactly how she tested. Oils showing 50% or more cancer cell inhibition and 25% or less inhibition of non-cancerous cell growth will be recommended for further study as potential anti-cancer drugs. Note any correlations between which oils are active against which cancer cell lines. And I say that prior to showing you the slides of her testing. Oops. Okay, so also materials and the methods. And I don't know if Joanne Wingrove is on here, but she is a chemist or works in a chemistry lab, and she would really understand this stuff. I've never done this kind of work before, but I find it very fascinating. So culturing cancer cells, they do monolayer growth, flat bottom 96 well micro titer plates. That's what you're seeing here. And they incubate in a minimal essential medium at 37 degrees centigrade, 5% carbon dioxide for 24 hours to allow cell adhesion. So this is how they test, folks. This is how they test. And when they're adding the essential oils, they're adding them in concentrations of 200, 150, and this is mils of oil added in a strip lot design in 3 replications. So these are small amounts of oil used as control, and the perimeter wells not used in the analysis, the edge effects, it says, and plates were incubated at 37 degrees centigrade, again, after adding essential oils. 58% of the 74 oils showed general cancer inhibition of 50% or greater. 34% of the 74 oils showed cancer-specific inhibition. 7 of these were active against 2 or more cancer cell lines. So, in other words, one oil could effectively kill different types of cancer. So just because she's doing it on breast, cervical, and prostate cancer lines does not mean that it's not going to be effective for other types of cancer. Of particular interest is oils showing synergistic effects, oils with significant activity at the lowest concentration tested, and oils with multiple anti-cancer activity, which she mentioned in the bullet above. 7 of those were active against 2 or more cancer cell lines. All right, so here is the essential oils that she used, and she has the Latin name in the left-hand column, so we've identified those with the type of common name. White fir, you see frankincense. Cananda odorata is ylang-ylang. Citrus paradisi, I believe, is orange. Hyssop, you see Melaleuca, alternifolia, which is tea tree, myrtle, And then Pelagorium graveolens is geranium. And I'm remembering this from my my aromatherapy training, so I'm surprised. Ravensara, of course, is Ravensara. Salvia officinalis is sage. Santalum is sandalwood. Oh, it says that. And then we have thuja, which is in tuga, and thyme oils. There's tuga down here. Valerian, peace and calming. And I don't know what the tea wood is. Okay, so here are the concentrations. And she said that she was doing concentrations from 50 to 100 and 200. And oh gosh, I don't remember what the HELA is right now. But you can see that for that frankincense is 72.1, and myrtle for breast cancer was 81.4. Sandalwood oil was as high as 97.2 on prostate, breast, and skin. This is a good opportunity for me to share the story of my daughter who was diagnosed in 2007, I believe, with cervical cancer and the HPV virus. I had done my research and found that sandalwood oil on one research showed that it had a 93.2, I believe, kill rate on specific cervical cancer cells. These were not showing on cervical cancer. They were showing on prostate, breast, and skin. So, and of course, the higher the concentration, the more effective it was. So what I had her do was I had her put sandalwood near the cancer site. And she also used an oil called Protect, which we don't have, in our arsenal anymore as far as what Young Living is selling. But I do have a bottle of Protect, and it has frankincense and cumin and some really, really powerful oils in it. It's a massage oil. And I was able to get it at the clinic when I was there in Ecuador in February. But because you never know when you're going to need it, right? But anyway, so she used those two things. And I think it was 18 months later, or a year and a half later, she was totally cancer-free. And oh, by the way, the oils that actually killed the HPV virus. So people were coming to me with HPV and asking what kind of recommendation I would have. And of course, I cannot diagnose or treat, and I'm going to just make that clear, while I'm talking to you here. But we started using sandalwood oil for both, for cervical cancer and for HPV virus, and they were getting rid of it. So I just feel very, very confident that the tests that are being done or have been done in the past on these essential oils and their efficacy against cancer cells and their inhibition. And oh, by the way, Elizabeth, my daughter's, cervical lining and all of that, was not negatively affected. It produces healthy cells, as I mentioned earlier. So it's very encouraging. So, we're looking at these 50% and higher as far as anti-cancer oils. Essential oils have potential, have as much potential as anti-cancer drugs. Screening processes such as the one used in this study that are fast, inexpensive, and useful provide good leads about which compounds should be further investigated. Further research should be done on promising essential oils. The problem is that there's not a lot of funding out there. H.K. Lin was the one who, at Oklahoma University, with his own time and his own funds, actually treated a woman with stage 4 breast cancer with 15 milliliters of frankincense a day. They based that on, I think it was 0.02% body weight. She was 150 pounds. So they calculated that she needed 15 milliliters of frankincense a day. And within 28 days, the cancer cells were all gone. But that is a lot of frankincense. That's ingesting a lot of frankincense. And some of the things that you might incur while you're ingesting a lot of frankincense is die off if you have a large tumor. And so this can make you nauseated. I recommend peppermint for that. I'm going to give you a couple of recommendations here. One of the most common symptoms of cancer is depression. And a lot of it is brought on by drugs and the rigors of post-operative treatment. But essential oils like lavender and geranium are particularly balancing to the nervous system. Rose and clary sage, Roman chamomile, vetiver, and frankincense all help to calm nervous tension and help with deepened breathing. In addition to supporting the central nervous system, melissa, mandarin, which is in peace and calming, sweet marjoram, myrrh, ylang-ylang, and neroli are all very useful in dispelling the anger which frequently accompanies depression. These aromatics can be applied topically or diluted in a carrier oil or a gel like aloe vera gel, and are highly effective when diffused through the air or inhaled directly from the bottle. During the daytime, if you're dealing with cancer, use citrus oils. Notably bergamot, it's excellent for uplifting the emotions and soothing depression, but also lemon and lime, grapefruit, and sweet orange. The reason I say sweet orange is because I'm going to talk about petitgrain here in a minute, and there's a difference between sweet orange, which is our regular orange oil, and the petitgrain, which comes from the bitter orange. They're two different types of orange, and petitgrain actually comes from the leaves and the twigs, whereas neroli comes from the flowers of the orange blossom. And sweet orange comes from the cold pressed rind of the regular orange, not the bitter orange. Okay, just kind of making clarity. And I think a lot of times just knowing this information and being able to, share it with other people, it helps give them a understanding of how we get these oils and where they come from, and that they're not made in a laboratory. So yeah, citrus oils are really good, and they're best used for daytime relief. While mandarin, which has a sedative effect, and you're going to find mandarin in peace and calming, is better applied at night for depression-related insomnia. Bath therapy is also a really helpful way when sleep might be difficult. And you can put Epsom salts in your bath, and I talk about this a lot. A cup of Epsom salts, add some mandarin or some sweet orange, even some Roman chamomile, some vetiver. Vetiver is really calming, or geranium. And then maybe put some drops of lavender on your hands and breathe it in before you go to bed, and maybe put lavender in your diffuser, and then rub your hands on the pillow so that you're breathing in that lavender before bed. That can really provide sometimes enough sedation to ensure a good night's sleep. Clary sage and ylang-ylang and jasmine have more of a narcotic effect and are indicated when there's pain present, making these oils extremely useful post-surgically and for palliative care. I want to give you a little bit of a story about, and I don't know if Jennifer's on here tonight. If she is, she's my neighbor, and she had radiation treatment for a cancer that was wrapped around her trigeminal nerve. they had to remove a large amount of her palate. So she has a device in there now, which, you know, has taken her time to get accustomed to. But in the in the treatment, they did a lot of radiation, and she had come to me because she had just moved here, by the way, and she had come to me because I told her that, you know, aromatherapy was my gig, and if she ever had any questions. And she said, is there anything that I can do to combat radiation burns? Because a lot of the people that were getting radiation with her at the same time, they were getting radiation at the same time, and they were having severe burns. And I said, yeah, there are a couple of things. There are a couple, and these things can be used. I know that if you have an open wound, a cancerous open wound that you've been dealing with, the rose ointment or animal sense. Now I know animal sense doesn't sound like it's, you know, as beautiful as rose ointment, but animal sense has such great oils in it. In fact, I have my bucket here of animal sense, and just, I'm going to read to you real quick some of the oils in it. Well, it has some, you know, what do you call it? Carrier oils like apricot and mango seed and castor seed, but an avocado. But it also has, and jojoba, but it also has white fir, which you saw as an anti-cancer oil on that list at the top. It has myrrh oil, Melaleuca alternifolia, which is tea tree. It has bergamot in it. It has rose hip seed oil and ylang-ylang, and carrot seed oil, palmarosa oil. I think I said geranium. I don't know if I did or not. But all of these oils are really healing to the skin. So I recommended to her to use rose ointment or animal sense. She loved the rose ointment. And to use Melrose. Now, Melrose is a blend of oils that has, I believe it has tea tree in it and some other oils in it. A couple of types of tea tree, I believe. Very, very antifungal. But also it was recommended, you guys might remember when the tsunami destroyed the plant over there in Japan, and radiation was blowing from west to east as wind does, that we were having a higher and higher incidence of thyroid issues. And Gary was on top of it, and he put out the, I think it was called the, oh gosh, it was a pack of 4 things. I can see it in my mind. And Melrose was one of those oils. Vitamin C was another one. And what it did was it helped to combat the radioactivity that was coming from that nuclear plant. And so I told her to use Melrose. Now she had to talk to her doctor about you know, what she could use and what she couldn't. But when they saw the results, she had no burning, no redness, and she was the only one out of the whole group that was getting radiation at the time, because I guess they met together. And that, I think that's really what sold Jennifer on Young Living and essential oils in general. So these are some of the things that you can keep in mind. If you have an open wound, if you are getting radiation, or you just need to heal something, animal sense is probably the most cost-effective way to go, because you get a lot of it. It goes a long way, and it's got all these healing oils in it. Oh, and it smells so good too. We love animal sense, and that's what we're using for the nose swipe that we're telling you about. So yeah, I really wanted to talk to you about that, about radiation. Let me see what else I've got here. Using oils, topical application of oils to build the immune system. And we talked about immune system oils a few weeks ago, but let me just reiterate that oils that contain neroli, ravensara, melaleuca alterifolia, lavender, mountain savory, and thyme oils. In fact, I've been telling everybody for the last 2 or 3 weeks, you know, since this lockdown coronavirus thing, every single night in my diffuser, I diffuse a citrus oil, and as they run out, I just go get another one. So I've been doing orange, I've done tangerine, I've done lemon, and I do thyme. Thyme oil is really, really powerful. And for those of you who want to really make sure that you're cleaning out your sinuses and making sure that there isn't anything running around in there, do what we call steaming, which is take a drop of thyme or oregano or thieves or mountain savory and put it in a teacup of boiling water, boiling water, and then 1 drop, and then breathe that in. Stick your nose over that cup and breathe it in. As a matter of fact, it's even more effective if you cover your head, you know, like make a little tent and breathe that stuff in. Get it in the upper respiratory, get it into the sinuses, and do this on a daily basis. We call it steaming. And if you can get yourself to sweat, like even get a bigger bowl, maybe put a couple of drops, but be careful because those oils are powerful. But I've been diffusing thyme and a citrus oil every single night for at least the last 3 weeks. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying the smell. We haven't come down with anything. And I know that's by the grace of God, but some areas of interest in conclusion on this slide here are, you know, in using oils, what we do is we stimulate apoptosis. And what that means is that it explodes the cancer cell. Essential oils have been proven through scientific study and research that they have the ability to repair damaged DNA. And Dr. Stewart talks a lot about that in the Healing Oils of the Bible. He has another book out, The Healing Oils of the Bible by Dr. David Stewart, and in The Chemistry of Essential Oils Made Simple. We want to make sure that these cancer cells don't proliferate. So using the oils regularly and as much as you can possibly tolerate is really the best rule of thumb if you're dealing with cancer right now. And of course, you want to protect your immune system and you want to stimulate the immune system's growth by using those oils. And again, look at my immune system presentation, which I think I have out on YouTube, and find out what supplements and what oils stimulate the immune system. And of course, we want to prevent metastasis by any means that we have available to us. These were just, this is future research. They want to take different samples and different active extracts and do, you know, isolate the active constituents and then test those to enter into preclinical development. And this presentation of research is for informational purposes only and is not intended as an endorsement of essential oils as medical treatment for cancer. A last look at synergy, the possibilities, multiple chemicals in plant extracts, essential oils, and traditional cancer treatments, multiple collaborators in research. I do want to mention another thing. There are studies out there at PubMed.org. Myrrh, frankincense, and sandalwood have all been very effective in killing basal cell carcinomas. Oils have been shown to be very effective for colon cancer. There's just so much research out there. And I have actually downloaded much of the cancer research out there. I can't share it with you all, you know, like over a Zoom call tonight, but if you have any specific questions, I do the best I can to help, you know, guide you in the right direction. Here are some of the references she put down, and that's pretty much, you know, what we had for tonight. So I know that this was probably a little bit in depth. I appreciate Jean O'Mara explaining what the HELA is. And I think I had that under my belt the last time I gave this presentation. I apologize for that. But if you read your chat, you'll see that she has explained that. Thank you so much, Jean. Jean is a retired nurse and always very helpful. Any questions? What did you say about, let me see what the chat said, about nasal wipes. Oh yeah, well, in the last couple of classes, to include the immune class, and I think the babies and children class, and even the thieves class, we've talked about a recipe that Kenneth had gotten from a couple at convention a few years ago called nose wipes. Nose swipes. So what you do is you take a container of animal scents, and because they've changed the formula and it's a bit harder than it used to be, I would recommend taking and putting this in a double boiler and heating it so that it is liquefied to a certain degree. And then to one complete container, you add 72 drops of Exodus 2 and 72 drops of Egyptian gold. If you have Egyptian gold, if you don't have it, then we're recommending that you swap that out for hyssop. Hyssop, because hyssop is highly antiviral and it's not nearly as expensive as Melissa. So then you take that mixture. You're not going to heat the oils. You're just getting the oils mixed into the softened animal scents, and you're going to put that in these little, where's my quarter ounce? Oh, in these little quarter ounce containers. And quarter ounce containers can be purchased on Amazon. I think you get 24 for under 10 bucks. And inside here, then I have my little bit left of nose swipe because we use it every day. I think you can see that there's nose swipe in there, animal scents. And all you do is you just take a little bit and you just put it in your nose. Sorry about that, but I thought you needed a visual. But it moisturizes the inside of your nose. It's antiviral and antibacterial. So anything coming in through your nasal cavity is going to stop. It's going to stop. It's not going to get anywhere further than wherever it's going to try to get to. If you just want to make your own quarter ounce jar, then you're going to take approximately a quarter ounce of animal scents and you're going to add 3 drops of Exodus 2 and 3 drops of Egyptian gold or hyssop. And we swear by this stuff, and we have given it away because one of these jars, Kenneth, he knows how many jars one of these makes. I think it makes 24. I don't remember. Maybe it makes 12. Might make 12. And then so he gives it away. And we haven't made a new batch for a while because we still have a little bit. We have some in the refrigerator. We keep it in the refrigerator, especially when it gets hotter because, you know, this gets pretty liquefied. Although the new harder one probably won't get as liquefied as the other one. But the point is that is what the nose wipes are. And I guess we've been giving that recipe every single class now. Everybody needs that recipe. Oh, so somebody says, please repeat the oils that you use at night. Okay, so right now, I mean, just in my diffuser, I was talking about just in my diffuser, I'm using thyme and a citrus oil. So you can choose the citrus oil of tangerine, bergamot, orange, lemon is what I got in there right now, lemon and thyme. And I use about 10 drops of each in my diffuser, and I have a dewdrop in my bedroom. So that's a lot of oil in there. And usually if I get up in the middle of the night to, you know, go to the bathroom or get some water, I will pop that diffuser on again because it goes off 4 hours. I should actually have a desert mist in there because I believe that goes for 8 solid hours. But, you know, I just get into the habit of doing what I do and, you know, like the rest of us. So I'm using thyme and lemon right now. And I love it. I actually love it. Okay, let me see if there's any other. Melrose has tea tree. Melaleuca quinquerneria, rosemary, and clove. That's what Melrose has. And Melrose is really a nice anti-radiation oil. And Milana is saying that rosemary is too. And I hadn't heard that, but that's good information, Milana. Okay, so any other questions that you either want to type in the chat box or unmute yourself? I know this might be a little bit over, you know, some of you didn't want that detail, and I'm not Nicole, but I did the best I could. So I just want you to know that we have oils that can help, you know, remediate some of this stuff. Any thoughts?
Christina?
Yes, Kevin.
That no swipe that you talked about,
Yes.
a wonderful container of animal scents covers about 24 quarter-ounce cups.
Oh, it does. Okay. So one of these will fill 24 jars. And it is a great present for somebody, especially during this time. Everybody should. I know Judy loves her nose swipe. I see Judy's face. Judy, you love your nose swipe, don't you? Absolutely. Are you out yet? No, she's not out. So the quarter-ounce cups, Nancy, are plastic. They're a very hard plastic. They're cosmetic containers, I guess they call them. And because it's in a solution of a lot of carrier oil in here with the animal scents, you don't have to worry about it hitting the inside or causing the petrochemicals to come up into your nose. But that's good observation, so I appreciate that. Thank you. Anything else? Please repeat. Okay. I think we got all the questions. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for coming on tonight. We're going to do the same class on Thursday night. Our vacation to Vietnam, which was supposed to take us into Bangkok on the 2nd of May, has been pushed back till next year. So I thought I would take this opportunity because I had canceled all classes between May 2nd and May 24th. I am asking for a consensus if there is something that you in particular would like to learn about. My next class is going to be, just to give you an idea, I'm going to do emotions next class. I'm going to do toxic-free home the next week, and probably touch on thyroid health and the endocrine system on the following week. But that whole month of May, I had canceled classes, and I'm going to be here. So if there's something that you want to learn about that maybe I can, you know, help with, I would be glad to do that for you. Diabetes. Diabetes sounds like an excellent class, Sandy. I think I'll do that. I'm going to produce a class on diabetes because I don't even have one on diabetes. Yay. All right, neuropathy. Yeah, that's nerves and the neurological system. And I do have a class on the nervous system. So, let me see when I give that class on the nervous system. So I'm just going to give you a quick rundown. In June 2nd and the 4th is the nervous system. And then I'm doing one on detoxing with Young Living. And we'll be doing a post-convention recap. And then we'll, yeah, so some other things that I'm going to be teaching this year are about Ningxia Red, about CBD. Part 1 and 2 of the endocrine system, I really get into every single aspect of the endocrine system. When we get back into the end of August, September, Kids Sense and back to school, and healthy bones, healthy skin. But yeah, I think allergies, I usually talk about when I did the respiratory system. And when did I do the respiratory system? So, you know what? I don't have respiratory system on here. I'm going to do another one on respiratory system. All right, so that'll cover allergies. We'll cover diabetes, and then I'm going to do the nervous system the first week in June. That sounds like, okay, we got a couple of votes for diabetes. Yeah, it's becoming pretty prevalent. So I think that would be great. Thank you so much. Kathleen Gardner is in a 2-day master cleanse with Tom Wolsham, and so is Sandy Roush. So she's on like day 3 or day 6 or something like that. And yeah, that's exciting too. That helps with diabetes. So I'm going to bring that up too. All right, guys. If there is nothing else, it is exactly 8 o'clock, and I've been an hour on. Thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Can I really quickly ask for the oils that you put inside the pot when you cover your head with the steam?
Yes,
What are the oils
Milana.
you put?
Yes, thyme or oregano or mountain savory or thieves. Any of those are all really good for the steaming. And thank you for all the blessings, everyone. Thank you. I love you all as well. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
See you next time. You're welcome.